10 people are now confirmed to have been killed in Los Angeles' worst ever wildfires. Where it's in LA now, it's 3 a.m. in the morning and thousands of firefighters are still battling to control the blazes. The county sheriff says it hasn't been safe to reach many hard-hit areas and the number of people who've died is absolutely going to change. Well, this aerial footage shows the Kenneth wildfire as it approaches some homes. Police earlier said they believed it was started deliberately and detained a man on suspicion of arson. But the fire chief has now told the BBC that there is, as yet, no conclusive evidence that the wildfires have been deliberately set. Well, this was the scene as dense smoke blanketed the sky above Hollywood. Weather forecasters are warning that across LA, more high winds may fan the flames further. Officials say as many as 10,000 homes and other structures have been destroyed or damaged. AccuWeather estimates the damage could be up to $150 billion. Well, 5 fires continue to burn across LA. The National Guard has been deployed amid reports of looting. The devastation has been illustrated by just one of thousands of residents. Harlan Boll sent us this photo of his home before the wildfires. And now this is what is left of it after the Eaton fire burned through 14,000 acres in LA. And as well as losing his home, Harlan Boll lost his pet cat. Well, residents have described the firestorm as apocalyptic. In some areas, families have returned to scenes of devastation, combing through the rubble and ash that was their home. We'll have the latest from our correspondent in LA shortly, but our first report this hour is from Helena Humphrey.
I watched this house burn down live on the news. Yeah, this was a beautiful home. Had a lot of good times here.
It's hard to put into words the level of devastation here, but the LA County Sheriff put it bluntly. In some areas, he said, it looks like a bomb had been dropped. So far, land more than twice the size of Manhattan lies in ruins, and still, these fires rage out of control.
There is a new fire, unfortunately, in West Hills, pushing into Ventura County, and we are expecting this fire to rapidly spread due to high winds. This is a reminder that this is a very dynamic situation that can change quickly.
On Thursday, a brief lull in those fierce Santa Ana winds allowed aircraft to streak across the skies, dropping water and fire retardant onto the flames. But there's no guarantee that that calm will last, with forecasters warning more winds could fan these infernos even further.
The wind definitely played the biggest part, especially with the flying embers. I mean, I remember seeing embers just shooting over my head like, oh my gosh, that's somebody's house, that's someone's property, just balls of fire.
Some residents have ventured back, bracing themselves for what they'd find, only to discover their homes reduced to little more than ash. Many told us they're simply too devastated to speak on camera. These fires don't discriminate, tearing through every kind of neighbourhood, from lavish mansions to humble bungalows. All of them wants a place of safety for someone.
This looks like the apocalypse. It just doesn't feel like the normal things that happen in your life. This is something very unusual.
And for others, the scope of this catastrophe confirms their growing fears about the changing climate.
This is obvious that stuff like this is happening because of global warming, and people that just want to deny it just don't know science and don't know how to research those things. So I think that humans are funny because they think anywhere they move in this world they'll be safe, but the entire world has global warming. I guess pick your disaster and live there. What disaster makes you feel most comfortable? Because that's the world we're living in at this point.
Here in Altadena, fire crews are out battling these hot spots. You can see that many homes, like this one, are still smouldering. And you can see here that this entire neighborhood, this entire community has essentially been wiped out. We've been speaking to families here who have lived in these homes for generations. And in just a matter of hours, they've lost everything.
And in some of the hardest hit areas, a nighttime curfew is in place, as some try to profit from the chaos. Looting has already led to multiple arrests. Meanwhile, President Biden has pledged his support for all those affected.
To the families who have been impacted by this disaster, you're living through a nightmare, I know. And I promise you, we're going to help you get through this and eventually recover and rebuild.
But rebuilding is hard to imagine right now, when all these residents can do is wait, hoping and praying that the next gust of wind won't stoke the embers back into an inferno. Helena Humphrey, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Jason Kirkpatrick, a climate expert and former vice mayor of Arcata in California, says these fires bring back memories of his time there.
I know exactly what this feeling is like. It's terrifying. I've been stuck in these fires. My cousin lost her house in this area a few years ago when it burned down. And even as a youth in this area, I remember with nearby fires, I was on the roof of our wooden shingled home with a garden hose, hosing down the roof so that flying embers with these big winds called Santa Ana winds, that they wouldn't catch my house on fire. This is terrifying, yeah.
So when we see fires on this scale, the worst in Los Angeles history, and we're told by climate change experts the frequency is likely to increase, what needs to change, first of all, in terms of how emergency responses are organised, in your view?
Okay, the short-term things for emergency response, there's some small things that we can do. We're learning about from these lessons we're hearing in the news. The water planning needs to be done a bit better. They've really done well, but we see that this is the worst ever fire, and now there will be lessons learned. There will be more fire water storage, better collaboration with other agencies, possibly outside of California, so that there can be rapid reaction from nearby states like Arizona, Nevada, Oregon. That will have to happen. But another thing we can see dealing with evacuations, like we know that the firefighters are tired, they're exhausted. So having things like the National Guard in reserve, but maybe trained in advance to deal with mass evacuations, that if they were able to be called in from early on to help firefighters, to help police, that would free up a bit more time for the firefighters. That's one of the things that they could do.
Climate expert and former vice mayor of Arcata in California, Jason Kirkpatrick. Bonnie and Jason Matthews have lived in Altadena since 2017. This is what remained of their neighbourhood when Jason returned to check on their house. The couple had evacuated along with their 2 cats on Tuesday after the power went out and police drove by warning everyone to leave. The smouldering wreckage is all that remains of their home. Well, with us is our BBC weather presenter, Stav Daenerys. And Stav, we keep talking about the sheer strength of the winds that are hitting the LA area.
Yeah, these Santa Ana winds, which are a common feature across this part of the world, have been particularly strong recently, gusting in excess of 80 miles an hour over the last few days. And of course, they've been fueling the fires. There have been other little embers flying off in the strength of the winds and setting off other fires too. But you can see the map that I'm showing you now is actually the drought map across Southern California. We're actually in severe drought. It's been a very dry December so far, whereas further north, California into the Pacific Northwest, there's been pretty much ample rain for the start of the winter here. So very different story further south. So we have tinder dry conditions. It's dried out all the vegetation, of course, and we've had those Santa Ana winds. And these Santa Ana winds, a lot of people ask, what are they? They're a common feature whenever you get high pressure to the north of the region and lower pressure to the south, and we have strong easterly winds which blow out from the desert, dry out even more over the mountains, and then drop down as very dry, low humidity, strong winds around the LA region. And these winds have been exceptionally strong recently. So I've got the pressure chart above to show you what's been happening in the last 12 hours. You can see the high pressure system I'm talking about to the north of California, which has been squeezing against the lower pressure down towards Mexico, and we've had these strong easterly winds, and those winds have been particularly strong for the last couple of days, and like an gusting in excess of 80 miles an hour. Next few days, the winds do ease down. That's a cold front that moves down from the north, but it misses Southern California. There's no rain in sight. And if anything, by the time we reach Sunday, after a brief lull in the winds on Saturday, Sunday looks like the winds are going to pick back up again and into next week with no rain in the forecast. So we could be looking at really dangerous conditions once again.
I'm already hearing that they're having difficulty putting out these fires because water levels are so low everywhere, because, as you say, it hasn't rained.
And also because of the strength of the winds, they've not been able to get the helicopters and the planes out to douse the fires from aerial views as well. So it's the combination of it all which has been devastating. But the outlook for next week, no rain in sight at all. It is going to stay dry. It is an arid area. We do get droughts in California, but it's been particularly dry recently, and with the strong winds and whatever started the fires, it's just been a lethal combination.
And this is the winter, isn't it? It's not even the height of the summer yet.
Yeah.
Some months off. Stav, for the moment, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Stav Danaus.